crowds are when Eala plays wherever she plays in the world. If Eala's going to win this one, she needs to be patient. I reckon it might be a little bit of a struggle. Grabher playing at home and also with that experience on clay, I think might get her a set, but I think Eala's going to win in 3 in the end and get to that second round and take on Ostapenko.
Always to welcome new players and newcomers and players who will own the future, I would say. So it's great, to welcome Alexandra here in Linz in this special year, and it's also our first time that we play on clay.
Julia Grabher, the Austrian tennis player, probably imagined a very normal first-round experience when she learned she would be playing at home in Austria. She likely expected the crowd to stand with her, the applause to follow her points, and the energy inside the stadium to lift her when the match got tense. That is usually what players hope for when they compete in their own country. A home match is supposed to feel like support, comfort, and a little extra push when the pressure starts building. But what is happening in Austria right now looks nothing like that picture, and the reaction on Grabher's face already tells the story. Eala is arriving in Austria, and the fan response has changed the whole mood around this match. New reports say that an eye-catching 90% of the tickets for the first-round clash between Julia Grabher and Eala were taken almost as soon as they became available. That alone would be a major headline, but the bigger surprise is who bought them. Most of those tickets were not purchased by Austrian fans eager to back their home player. They were reportedly bought by Eala supporters, people determined to fill the venue and turn the atmosphere into one giant show of support for the young Filipino star. That changes everything. Grabher will be stepping onto a court in her own country, at a tournament on home soil, surrounded by what should have been familiar support, yet the setting may feel like an away match from the first ball. That is the position she now finds herself in, and almost nobody expected it to swing this far. A player can prepare for a tough opponent. A player can prepare for pressure. What is much harder to prepare for is hearing the loudest noise in the stadium go to the person standing across the net. Take a second to think about what that means. Grabher has spent years building her path in tennis, carrying Austria's flag and counting on that link with home fans whenever she gets the chance to play in front of them. In tennis, home support can matter a lot. The court feels more familiar, the setting feels more comfortable, and the crowd can help a player settle down after a rough game or a missed chance. There is a real emotional lift that comes from hearing people cheer your name when the match gets difficult. For Grabher, that expected advantage suddenly looks much weaker and may be gone altogether. Instead of walking into a wave of support built around her, she may hear the biggest cheers after Eala's winners, Eala's big holds, and Eala's biggest moments. That is not a small detail. That can affect rhythm, focus, and confidence, especially when every point starts feeling heavier than it should. Grabher will need to block out the sound, control the emotion, and stay locked into the tennis, even if the building feels tilted toward the other side of the net. That is a serious mental test for any player, and it says a lot about how strong the Eala following has become. This did not happen by chance. This was not one random burst of excitement or one lucky moment at the box office. Eala's supporters have been showing up in numbers that the tennis world is no longer treating as a surprise. Their support has become organized, loud, and impossible to miss. Wherever she goes, they travel, they buy tickets, and they bring the kind of energy that can change the feel of an entire tournament. Austria is simply the latest stop where that pattern is showing up again, and this time, the impact is impossible to ignore.
Always to welcome new players and newcomers and players who will own the future, I would say. So it's great, to welcome Alexandra here in Linz in this special year, and it's also our first time that we play on clay. So
Tournament director Sandra Reichel has been very open about how she sees this moment. Reichel, who is leading the Ladies Linz Open as the event marks its 35th anniversary, has clearly embraced the attention that comes with having Eala in the draw. She has not only praised Eala as a player, she has also praised the level of excitement, attention, and outside interest that follows her. That says a lot because tournament directors do not usually speak this openly unless they know a player is bringing something special to the event. See, Reichel has made it clear that Eala is adding real energy to the tournament, and not just on the court. She has pointed to the fans, the growing buzz, and the broader spotlight now landing on the event because of Eala's presence. According to her, this is not a routine first-round match tucked away in the schedule. The scale of the interest has pushed it into something much bigger. That is why Eala is expected to play on the biggest court available, a decision that reflects just how much demand there already is around this match, and that part matters. When a tournament decides to place a player on its main stage, it is an admission that the moment has grown beyond normal expectations. Steve Reichel has also suggested that the atmosphere around Eala's appearance could be unlike anything the tournament has experienced in its 3.5 decades. For an event with 35 years of history behind it, that is not a throwaway comment. That is a strong statement, and it shows how seriously organizers are taking the impact of Eala's arrival. Reichel even said she would personally welcome Eala to the tournament, which makes the whole scene feel even more unusual. A tournament director stepping forward that publicly sends a clear message. This is not being viewed as just another player entering the draw. It is being treated like a major occasion, one that could shift attention, production, ticket demand, and the entire feel of the week. That level of recognition does not come around often, and it tells you just how much Eala's presence is already shaping the story in Linz. While Reichel celebrates the moment and the fans keep pouring in, Julia Grabher is watching all of this happen in real time. The spotlight is not on the Austrian player. The headlines are not centered on her. The loud praise, the special attention, and the added buzz are all flowing toward the woman she has to face. That is a rough situation for any competitor, and it becomes even more difficult when it unfolds in your own country at your own event, with your own first-round match sitting right in the middle of it. Grabher is not just dealing with an opponent. She is dealing with a story that has already been built around that opponent before the two players even walk onto the court. Eala's presence has become the main attraction, and that means Grabher enters the match with less focus on her game and more attention on the other side. That can be frustrating. It can also be dangerous, because once a player starts feeling overshadowed, the pressure grows from two directions at once. There is the pressure to win, and then there is the pressure of trying not to get swallowed by the moment. The truth is, none of this is really new for Alexa Eala. Austria may be the latest place where this is happening, but this pattern has been growing for months. She has put together a series of moments that tennis fans, tournament officials, and even other players have been forced to notice. Her rise has not only been about match results, it has also been about the reaction that follows her from city to city, event to event, round to round. The support around her has become one of the biggest stories in the sport. Earlier in the year, at the 2026 Indian Wells tournament, Eala made her debut there, and the demand to see her play exploded. Ticket interest rose so sharply that prices climbed to a level almost nobody had expected. What came out of that was staggering. $5 million in ticket sales from a single match, just one match. That figure turned heads all across the tennis world, because numbers like that do not show up by accident. When one player's appearance can drive that kind of result, people stop calling it a trend and start calling it something bigger. Organizers at Indian Wells were reportedly caught off guard by how large the demand became. Crowds arrived in numbers that forced tournament officials to react quickly, and the conversation soon moved past tennis alone. Analysts started using a phrase that now keeps showing up around the sport: the Eala effect. That term has stuck because it captures what people keep seeing whenever Alexa Eala enters a tournament. Ticket sales jump, courts fill up, the atmosphere gets louder, and media attention starts climbing with it. The effect is not just about fan excitement. It reaches into the business side too. Ticket revenue, crowd movement, match placement, and media coverage all shift when Eala is part of the field. That is why her name now carries more than just ranking value or match value. It carries event value. Tournament organizers know it, fans know it, broadcasters know it, and players who step onto the other side of the net are starting to feel it in a very direct way. Her tennis has backed up the attention. Eala has produced strong performances this season and has taken down players with real standing in the women's game. That matters because hype can only carry a player so far before results need to take over. In Eala's case, those results have arrived. One of the most talked about wins came against Coco Gauff, a player who sits among the biggest names in women's tennis today. Victories like that do not just excite fans for a day, they build belief, and belief is what turns a fan base into a force. Jessica Pegula also gave a very honest description of what it feels like to face Eala when that support is in the building. Pegula has played in major matches, in packed venues, and against top opponents throughout her career, so she is not someone who gets rattled by normal crowd noise. Yet when she faced Eala at the Miami Open, what she walked into was clearly different from what she expected. The atmosphere did not feel like a standard big match. It felt bigger, louder, and much more personal on every point. Pegula explained that the crowd was fully wrapped up in everything Eala did. They were not simply watching from a distance. They were reacting to every rally, every winner, every swing and momentum with a kind of energy she described as insane. She also pointed out that this support follows Eala almost everywhere, whether it is the Australian Open, the Dubai Tennis Championships, or the Miami Open. That consistency is what makes the situation in Austria even more striking. This is not one city acting differently. This is a pattern. It also gives a clearer picture of what Grabher could be facing. If a player as experienced as Pegula could feel the weight of that kind of support coming from the stands, then Julia Grabher may be stepping into one of the strangest home crowd situations any player could imagine. She will be playing in Austria, in front of an Austrian audience, yet a huge part of the noise may belong to her opponent. That is the kind of mental challenge that can shift a match before the scoreboard has fully settled. It's amazing. I mean, I played her when she kind of broke out last year in Miami, and I'm from there, and the whole crowd was against me, and I was like, what on earth is going on? Like, where did these people come from? And then week after week, as she, has done well and established herself as a really good player on tour, they all come out to support her. And so I think we saw that in Australia when it was kind of overcrowded. They put her on too small of a court. We saw it here. You can hear it from the hotel. You can hear the crowd roaring, especially at night. So it's incredible. That quote says a lot on its own. Pegula is not talking about a normal bump in popularity. She is describing something that keeps repeating itself as Eala's profile grows. Overcrowded courts, loud support, and a match atmosphere you can hear from the hotel are not small things. Those details show how big the reaction has become and how quickly it keeps spreading from one tournament to the next. And there is another layer here. People are watching the numbers closely. Ticket sales are being measured. Crowd demand is being tracked. Tournament decisions are being adjusted. See, every sign points in the same direction. Eala is bringing a kind of momentum to tennis that stretches well past rankings, match wins, or early round storylines. She is bringing in a fan movement, and that movement is already changing the mood and the economics around events where she appears. That leaves Julia Grabher with a very difficult assignment. She is not only facing one of the most talked about players on tour right now, she is also walking into an atmosphere charged by support that seems to grow stronger every week. Austria was supposed to offer a home crowd edge. Instead, it may deliver an Eala moment, and those moments are becoming impossible for the tennis world to ignore. What happens next will say a lot, not only about Eala's hold on this tournament, but also about Grabher's ability to stay composed when the match around her starts feeling like enemy territory in her own country. What people expected was a routine first-round match with a local favorite enjoying home backing. What they may get instead is a loud, emotional, one-sided crowd scene centered on a visitor who now carries one of the strongest fan waves in the sport. That is why this match has become so much bigger than a normal opener. It is not just player versus player anymore. It is player versus moment, player versus noise, and player versus a stadium that may have already picked its side before the warm-up even begins. So now the pressure is clear. Can Julia Grabher absorb all of that and still play freely? Or will Eala's growing fan force shape the match from the first point to the last? The whole tennis world is watching this one closely, because what is happening in Austria does not look ordinary at all. It looks like the latest proof that the Eala effect is real, getting bigger and changing matches before they even begin.